The new Jurassic World movie doesn't even open until 2018, but if you want to see dinosaurs in the desert, look no further than the Phoenix Zoo. In fact, it was a zoo visit that inspired a young boy in England back in the 1920s to name his stuffed animal Winnie, as in Winnie the Pooh. The book became a phenomenon. Coming up on Real Travels, we'll head to London to talk to the young actor who earned the big part of Christopher Robin in a film about the toll the book's success had, although it sounds like things are going quite well for this young star.
I just remember like 10 women standing around him as he told stories and thinking, well, it's not always going to be like this.
We've got our poo sticks at the ready, and we shall go to Pooh's Bridge, where we drop a stick of poo in the stream.
No. We drop a stick, not a stick of poo.
Pooh's sticks.
I promise we'll keep it clean as we head to the actual 100-acre wood and attempt to recreate the famous game of Pooh Sticks with a little A.A. Milne tutorial. Andrew Garfield turns in another fantastic and intense performance in Andy Serkis's directorial debut, Breathe. You do remember I said you should do a romantic comedy next.
Yes.
Right?
Here we are.
My pal Brad Perry takes a look at Chadwick Boseman's performance as Thurgood Marshall, and My Little Pony gets picked apart by a member of its target audience. If we can just keep her calm. At least we have one excited viewer. Hopefully we'll add a few more by the end of this 30 minutes, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Real Travels with Tara from the Phoenix Zoo. Welcome to Real Travels with Tara. You know what, with the temperatures falling and the giraffes hungry, this is a great time to take the family out here to the Phoenix Zoo. In fact, tonight, this whole place will be transformed into Rendezvous, an opportunity to dress up and support one of the nation's largest nonprofit zoos. Any child is inspired by a visit to the zoo. The real-life Christopher Robin may have loved his stuffed bear, but he also fell in love with an American black bear he saw at the London Zoo. The bear was named Winnie, short for Winnipeg, the hometown of the man who raised the bear as a cub and later brought the bear to the zoo.
I'm going to call my bear Winnie.
You should call him Pooh. So if he ignores you, you can pretend you were just saying Pooh.
Pooh!
It was first published on this day back in 1926. Winnie the Pooh remains a staple for children all over the world decades later. But the story behind the kids' book is one of heartache, as the real Christopher Robin struggled with the book's success, as well as a strained relationship with his parents. Did you read Winnie the Pooh growing up?
No, that was not one of my books growing up, no. I had Irish language books up until I was about 4, and then after that I was kind of into school. So reading my first time reading the books properly was in preparation for this.
I read them growing up, but it did change my opinion of them, knowing the story behind them, because something that brings so much joy to so many, I didn't realize brought a lot of pain.
It did. It brought most pain to the person who was intended to give the most joy to. I mean, it's one of those things. I think the books are still as wondrous and beautiful and can give you everything that they always have. It's just part of the journey was difficult. Yeah, it's interesting.
Mummy says you're writing a book to stop people going to war. I think your book is a jolly good idea.
You're the only one that does.
I'd really like if you wrote a book for me. I'd definitely read it.
To play Christopher Robin, the director found newcomer Will Tilston. I almost feel like I would have hired him for his dimples alone.
Well, yes, they're spectacular, but actually we needed a really good actor to play Christopher Robin, and luckily we found a really good actor.
My name is Will.
Finding that good actor took some time.
I think the auditioning process was longer than the actual filming, wasn't it?
That's possibly true.
I don't think I do like porridge after all.
Filmmakers auditioned hundreds of young boys, and Will just tried to play it cool.
I had to sort of keep it sort of like on the low basis, because if I got too cocky, I would have thought that if I didn't get it, I'd be really sad. So I sort of kept it so if I didn't get it, I wouldn't be as upset.
I just remember like 10 women standing around him as he told stories and thinking, well, it's not always going to be like this.
He talked about how funny you are, and I know when you have to, you know, you're joking around off camera, and then you have to be stern with him. When you're dealing with somebody his age, do you approach it any differently than you would somebody who's older?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, because it was his first job as well. I was very wary of getting too close to him too early in the process because he's so likable and he's so lovely and he's such a good person, you know. You want to be around him, and we did have to have these moments where it's awkward between us. We don't connect for most of the film. Right. And so, yeah, we had to set up those rules early on and say, look, we're not going to be friends today, and that has to be okay, but we will at the end.
Do you have room for one very small piglet?
Yes.
Margot Robbie signed on to play Mrs. Milne in part because it reminded her of her own mother, who used to voice characters when she was young. And there were a few other comparisons.
More pragmatic rather than you know, maybe more nurturing side. I feel like a lot of women in my family are very like, get on with it, stop crying, that sort of thing. So I kind of understood where she was coming from sometimes.
You must be Nanny. As in Vespers, the nanny with the blue dressing gown, the one that God blesses.
I've read memoirs of other people that had nannies growing up, and they, you know, it's that relationship that in those years, the bond is so strong that the relationship goes on forever. Like, these nannies have retired, and yet they still have these children that they looked after coming to visit them.
Yeah, he's still eating, believe it or not. Through that whole entire Goodbye Christopher Robin package, this guy is still going. It's very common back in the day to have a nanny look after your child, even if you only had one. So I asked the actresses, besides your mom, who was the woman that inspired you the most?
I actually had like a couple of babysitters, two in particular, that I was super close with because I spent so much time with them. And I always thought they were grown-ups, but actually they were just like straight out of high school, right. Like, you know, whoever mum could get to babysit us. But we'd spend so much time with them. Yeah, seeing them was like the most exciting part of my day.
I would imagine they're now like, yeah, I babysat Margot Robbie
yeah,
back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, sure you did, sure you did.
Do you know, someone actually said that to me. I was in Glasgow, this was years ago, and someone said, oh, I used to babysit you. And I just didn't recognise them.
You didn't remember them?
Oh, no, they didn't. They were, and I said, what age are you? And they were about 5 years younger, and I was like, this is clearly just, I don't know why you've made this up.
I guess we're done eating, which is perfect timing because Goodbye Christopher Robin is in theaters this weekend. Coming up a little later, we'll head to Ashdown Forest in honor of the book. Dinosaurs in the desert, yep, at least until April. We'll tell you about the latest events at the zoo and get the 411 from a dinosaur expert.
I don't know some dinosaurs.
All right, sort of expert. Plus a little sarcasm from an Oscar nominee when he answers this question. Where do you feel most alive?
Ooh, oh my God, junkets.
Oh, stop. All right, I get it. We'll talk about his new film, Breathe, and get his real answer when Real Travels continues. Welcome back to Real Travels with Tara. I don't think Reba wants to eat her cookies.
No, wow.
She's busy. Brad, they're for the elephants.
Oh, this is not my...
No! I know you're on a diet kick,
yeah.
But these are actually for the animals. In fact, over 3,000 animals here at the Phoenix Zoo, more than 30 species endangered or threatened. And as of about a week ago, the Phoenix Zoo also features a new exhibit that takes us back in time.
This is such a cool exhibit to learn about dinosaurs that were actually right in our own backyard here in Phoenix.
Actually, there have been so many different kinds of fossils and things that have been found in the Southwest. That's why we really wanted to bring this Dinosaurs in the Desert, so people can make a connection that, yes, they were found here in this area. And then we can also teach people about some of the adaptations that might relate to the animals we have here at the zoo.
Yeah, and this is not just where you walk through and they're just standing still. They're actually moving.
Yeah, we have about 17 of the 23 are animatronic. They make noise, they move, some even spit water.
What's also interesting about these dinosaurs is how they're painted.
Right, we really wanted to make the connection between some of the animals we have here in the region. So the T-Rex behind us here is actually painted like a Harris's hawk. There's a Carnotaurus that's painted like a jaguar. So it really makes that connection to the beautiful Southwest desert colors as well as several endangered animals.
I remember when Tara used to be orange. Wasn't that kind of neat?
That
so
was
definitely
amazing.
She's a fossil.
Wow. One time.
This is not around long like the dinosaurs, right?
Exactly. This will be going extinct April 30th. So they have several months to come visit. Perfect time of year to visit us.
Is your hair supposed to look like the T-Rex? Are you going to watch Real Travels with Tara on Saturday at 4:30? Sure. I don't feel it. There's a rumor going around that you know everything there is to know about dinosaurs. Is that an accurate rumor?
I don't know some dinosaurs.
Okay, but you know some.
I know that there's a Colossosaurus Rex.
How do you spell that? Exactly. I don't know how to spell it either.
I know that he's the biggest.
Do you know what he eats?
Meat.
He eats meat? Do you eat meat? All right, so you're not a vegan, me neither. How about the plant-eating dinosaurs? Are there some dinosaurs that eat plants?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Jurassic Park movies, or are you too young?
I saw shows like that before.
Did you see the last one with Chris Pratt, the actor?
Yeah.
So I had a chance to talk to Chris. He's got a son too, about your age, and I asked him, is he as effective with his son like he is with the dinosaurs? No, you're kind of the dinosaur whisperer.
Yes.
Does your son listen to you? Are you as effective with him?
Yeah.
You are?
I'm like the only one. I'm the only one who can really get to him. It's good. It should be that way.
It should be that.
You
Is
know?
it tone? Is it what you say?
I don't use the same training techniques on my son that I would use on the Raptors, but I don't know. Maybe it is just like pointing, and getting serious and looking him dead in the eyes. It's acting, really, right? Getting your kid to do what you want is really acting. It's pretending like you're so offended and so hurt that they would talk back.
That was pretty funny, don't you think? You don't look too enthusiastic. Do you want to get back to looking at the dinosaurs? Are you done here with me? Yeah, okay. Hey, listen, crew, thanks. You can go. Look for the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom trailer to be released in less than a month. This is where the orangutans hang out. We're talking to an actor known for portraying a relative of theirs. Andy Serkis has raised the bar when it comes to motion capture. Of course, he's been Caesar the ape in all of the Planet of the Apes films, but this time he tries his hand behind the camera. His directorial debut, an emotional story called Breathe.
I'm not feeling too good. I can't move. What's going on?
Robin,
get another respirator.
Breathe is based on the real-life story of Robin Cavendish, a man stricken with polio in the 1950s, given months to live, but who survived on a breathing machine for over 40 years, thanks to the devotion of his wife, Diana. It is another powerful performance from Oscar nominee Andrew Garfield. Here, I talked to you for Hacksaw Ridge and Silence. You do remember I said you should do a romantic comedy next.
Yes.
Right?
Here we are.
And here we are. This is such a performance, physical and emotional. The hardest thing about this one?
Her. No, that's the first answer I'm giving of the day.
Terrible.
On paper, you don't imagine it would be, but it was such a joyful experience. I think it's because of these two people were very joyful people, essentially. And she's wonderful, and that's fun. And Andy Serkis is joyful and forever optimistic.
How do you feel? He's right. She is wonderful. Golden Globe winner Claire Foy, busy with her Netflix hit The Crown, plays Robin's wife, Diana. You were ready for a break, and then you got this script.
I bumped into Andy Serkis. We'd worked together before, and I bumped into him in a park in London. And then a week later, he asked, and then he just went, "I'd really like to do it." And I immediately was like, "Well, I'm supposed to be on a holiday, and I'm having a rest." And then him, and I couldn't. Can machines like that ventilator only work in hospitals?
The ventilator, you know, I love you incorporate the breath and the ventilator. It's something that stays with you even after the film. I know it's not always on when you're doing your thing, but did that noise, did that visceral reminder of something we take for granted stay with you after?
Absolutely. It was like having a third character in the room talking. So in real life, Robin would, he would begin his sentence, wait for the respirator to fill his lungs up with air again, and then complete the sentence. And then Diana would automatically fit in with that structure of talking. So it did have a rhythm to it, and so of course, later on in the film, when it's no longer there, it leaves this huge kind of vacuum, which is very, very powerful.
Hello, Jonathan.
Although just a boy in the movie, the real Jonathan Cavendish helped produce this film.
And there was something very enlivening about being near him while telling the story of his parents. It doesn't get much more meaningful and awake and alive than that, as far as I know.
I would have been like, did I nail it? See, I nailed that. Yeah, but I guess you can't really do that.
My love.
All right, so he's good at playing an ape. He's a good director. This film, beautifully shot, beautifully acted, beautifully directed. One of the main messages of the film, it's very inspirational, you'll see it in the trailer, is when Robin Cavendish, Andy's character, says, "I just want to live." So I asked the actors, where's the place they feel most alive?
Ooh. Oh my God. Junkets.
Oh, stop. You know what, I kind of feel, that's kind of my answer, sadly, because we enjoy it so much.
No, I love that. No. My earnest answer is you know, doing things that feel meaningful. Storytelling, I think, is a very meaningful enterprise, and for me, so telling a story like this, I felt very alive doing this.
All right, so he made up for it. The movie Breathe in theaters this weekend. You need some water?
Yeah, I think I ate too many.
I know.
Oh, thank you.
These
thank
things
you.
are really dry.
Addictive.
Addictive, but in a dry way. Coming up on Real Travels, you are reviewing a movie.
Yes, Thurgood Marshall, and I'll tell you, this movie is such an important movie to see at this time.
Save it for the next segment.
I will.
Brad reviews Marshall with Chadwick Boseman, and My Little Pony gets picked apart by our young film critic, and we may just need a flow chart for her My Little Pony tutorial.
Pinkie Pie, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and Fluttershy. Oh, and Applejack.
You gentlemen are making a big mistake.
This here is Mr. Thurgood Marshall. Man is an attorney. You will treat him with the respect that he deserves.
All right, your first movie review. The movie is called Marshall. Last week, you were a little confused, thought it might be the Matthew McConaughey film about the football team. No, it's about Thurgood Marshall.
Yes.
You screened it. What did you think?
I thought it was awesome. To see how he took this character to making you actually think he was Thurgood Marshall. I didn't know that one of the cases that he was not even allowed to talk. When you get to see what he's doing and how smart he is, it's amazing.
So you had a chance to sit down with Chadwick?
Yes, I did. It was my first junket. You sent me on. I was excited, and this is what I talked to him about.
Wow.
Mr. Spell, I'm Thurgood Marshall with the NAACP.
Now, were you nervous to take on this role?
Every biopic that comes to my agents, they immediately are like, we'll read it, but, you know, so it first of all, it's got to get to me. And then second, if it gets to me, like, half the time, I'm like, nope. Now,
did you have a chance to interact with the Marshall family?
Very little, because once I got their go-ahead, and I realized, well, they didn't know this man. You know, they weren't alive when this man was doing this work. And I knew I didn't look like him. And since it would just remind me more and more that I don't look like him, you know, if I talk to the family.
Before taking on this part, did you do any research? Did you know about Thurgood Marshall?
I knew a lot about him, but I think once I started to read more, you know, it's because facts are facts, but it's like the context of it all. And the script really did a really good job of presenting some of that and giving you a sense of that. But once I realized that, okay, there's a lot to do with this character.
Brad, it was obvious.
That was my first junket. Wasn't it great?
Were you even in the same room? I mean, you've got the giraffe behind you. He's in a hotel room. With the movie title behind you.
I know it's not in our budget. You have to send me to a junket, so I just did the best I could.
But you liked this movie.
I loved it. You know what? It is a very important movie for everyone to see, especially at this time we're going through. It's not overbearing or anything like that, and everyone can sit through it. But it moved very nicely, and I learned something about Thurgood Marshall I didn't know.
Look for Chadwick as Black Panther in a standalone film next year, but Marshall is in theaters now. Another film out in theaters, My Little Pony, making her film critic debut, one of My Little Pony's biggest and smallest fans.
Hi, my name is Jaden, and this is my review of the My Little Pony movie. I thought it was really amazing, and I liked all the characters, even though new ones, like Tempest, and the singer, and the hippogriffs, and the pirates, and that weird cat.
So, was it a good movie?
It was amazing!
Who was your favorite pony?
Twilight Sparkle! She's the princess of friendship.
And who are Twilight's friends?
Pinkie Pie, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and Fluttershy. Oh, and Applejack.
Was there anything that was sad in the movie?
We just got our cupcakes handed to us by the worst party crasher ever! The friends just left Twilight when she said a mean thing. And that's when I was kind of crying sad. But it all worked out and happy
syrup and flowers and ponies and blue.
You should definitely come see this movie. But one last word. I love you, goodbye, My Little Pony. See you next time.
To be a kid again.
Yeah, good times, Brad.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all glitter and rainbows with My Little Pony. We actually attempted to be kids again by going into the real 100-acre wood all the way across the pond and recreating the well-known game of poo sticks. A.A. Milne and Winnie the Pooh expert Anne Thwaite was there to give us a tutorial. Now, she has seen the film and already has a favorite part.
The snow scene, and of course because it picks up the scene where Piglet and Pooh are walking in their own footsteps in the snow in the book. I love the parts of the film that echo things in the Pooh books.
Walk into the forest and you'll see these homes constructed by Pooh fans for one of Pooh's famous friends.
It's an Eeyore house, so visitors come to the forest and they kind of create a little teepee just in case Eeyore needs a home.
I'm getting a stick.
Get several.
It's a little harder than it looks.
Go! Of course, we were really there just to recreate the game of Pooh Sticks. A very simple game. You drop the sticks on one side of the bridge and then watch the current bring them to the other. It's also a game featured in the film. I have a feeling, though, that Anne is over playing Pooh Sticks, but she's not over coming to the woods.
Somebody asked me how many times I'd been, and I decided about 40.
You can be a kid again. The Phoenix Zoo is a great place to do it, and there are some great events coming up. Halloween in just a few weeks, activities and experiences for the whole family, and it's not too early to start thinking about Zoo Lights, the Valley's brightest holiday tradition. For information on the zoo's events and for tickets, just go to phoenixzoo.org. Of course, you can see all of the movies we talked about today on Real Travels by going to Harkins.com. If you'd like to see more of my celebrity interviews, you can find them on the website. If you click on Only at Harkins, scroll down behind the screens. Are you guys exhausted? Well, you know what? Wait a minute. I need to be asking your parents. Are you guys exhausted? Yes. Big day at the zoo? Yes. What was the highlight? We got about 30 seconds. T-Rex! Of course, a lot of fun to be had at the Phoenix Zoo. You can find out everything you need to know about tickets, upcoming events, and all of the cool exhibits and animals by going to the Phoenix Zoo website. Coming up next week, we are getting serious. There is a movie that affects all of us here in Arizona. It's called Only the Brave. It is the story of the 19 men whose lives were lost in the Yarnell Hill fire. We are going to take you to the set in New Mexico. We'll talk all about the movie, and we'll head up to Yarnell Hill and Prescott to remember our fallen heroes. All of that and more next week on Real Travels with Tara. In the meantime, have a great weekend, and we'll see you at the movies. These aren't, I mean, they're dry, but they're not not
vegan.
Bad. Reba doesn't care. This little effect at the end, like
It was. It said,
more
let's
action.
Do one. Oh, to be at the club again.
Golf club kids. You really do like those.
To be a kid again.
Oh my gosh. Your glitter looks really good.
I know.
I'm nationally known comedian Pablo Francisco, and since this is a movie show, I'm using my movie voice. Real Travels with Tara is brought to you by Harkins Theater, Dignity Health, Sneaky Pig Studios, and National Bank of Arizona.